Hello, my dear CTS community. Your favorite crazy tenor is back. This time with a very quick tip, okay? As you probably know by now, singing is just as much mental as it is physical. And in order to make certain breakthroughs in our vocal journeys and get certain epiphanies, sometimes it's not just about what happens physically and in our technique, but it's about how we approach and understand a concept. A lot of it has to do with breaking these false perceptions of a concept that we have in our mind. And one of those false perceptions that I think a lot of people still have in their minds that is stopping them from making real breakthroughs in their voice is the following. Stop thinking that the low notes are here and your high notes are there. In other words, stop thinking that the high notes are up. As long as you still have this mentality, you will always be thinking of reaching for the high notes or hitting the high notes. Your approach will always be from bottom up. And a lot of that false perception that's happening mentally is also what's causing you to bring with you heft and weight, because you think, I need to take my speaking voice up there because the high note's all the way up there. And that's what you get. You get a very strangulating sound, a scream of a sound, a thick, stuck, throaty sound that doesn't feel good. The high notes are not up there. The high notes are actually behind you. They're deep in you. The trajectory for singing higher and higher and higher is never, ever low note, high note. It's never a straight path. Low note, high note, low note, high note will always lead to it would always lead to strangulation. The trajectory for singing high notes or building your higher range is always this path. It's going back as if the high note is behind you, deeper into the yawn, and then approaching it from the top, almost as if you're looking down at the high note. As I mentioned in my previous video, as opera singers, we always need to maintain this yawn position. This is the open throat. When we yawn, the yawn has two steps. The first step is opening the throat. Soft palate raises, larynx lowers, and now we have a gola aperta. We have an open throat. It's the opposite to when we swallow. That's a completely closed throat, which is good because when we're eating food, we don't want it to fall into the windpipe. When we yawn, we open the throat. That's step one. Step two is the sigh or the yawn itself. However, most people, probably all the people in the world, I've never heard anyone yawn from bottom to top. Nobody ever does that. They yawn from top to bottom. So what we want to do is, if you're vocalizing scales from bottom to top, use the yawn. Use the yawn and follow its trajectory as it's going from top to bottom. You're going to realize it's never straight shot. It's never that's immediately a strain. It's space. It's coming from behind. It's this cavern of space that's being created. And what we want to do is follow that trajectory, but reverse it. I almost feel like when I immediately get into my yawn position, my palate raises, my larynx lowers, I feel like this imaginary circular cavern of space has been created. Almost like this dome that starts from my mouth and it goes like this. It's this huge circular bubble, whatever you want to call it, of space. Almost like if I have an imaginary ball stuck in my throat, keeping everything open. That's the position that we want to sing opera, right? It's just that right now we don't have chord closure, but that's okay. Because right now we're just trying to stop the mind from thinking high notes are high. They're not. What I think about is as I attempt going higher and higher and higher, the trajectory in which I feel the sound achieving its best result and allowing the chords to stretch and thin as we ascend is almost as if the sound is caressing this imaginary bubble that I just showed you of space. As it's going, that's still connected to the full voice. I didn't switch to falsetto. I didn't go, that I switched. No, I can stay in full voice in this yawn position and allowing the sound, the higher I go, to follow this trajectory. It is back. Your high notes don't live up there. They live deeper in the yawn. This is why I say the higher you go, the more depth you have to strive towards for the yawn. That does not mean compressing your larynx. No, that just means maintaining this yawn position, okay? For those of you that have troubles with a passaggio, with covering the voice, this is going to be a game changer. Because if you can find this open throat yawn position and maintain it, which is the hardest thing, maintain it, as you ascend, following this trajectory of thinking your high notes are back, or as you ascend, you're actually going deeper, then the voice, the larynx, is in a much better position that when it reaches the passaggio, it will tilt naturally by itself. You don't even need to think about it. So for those people who are like, well, should I cover the F? Should I cover F sharp? Should I cover G? If you stay in this yawn position, the whole way through, the larynx will tilt naturally by itself. It has no choice. If you come off the yawn position, then it's going to sound belty and the larynx won't tilt. If you do something like this, I started in the yawn, but I lost it. I went back to my speaking position. We don't sing how we speak. We stay in this yawn. The larynx tilted by itself. I didn't have to think, cover, not cover, should I do this, should I not do this? This is the best way. If you're ever in doubt, whatever vowel it is, stay in the yawn, stay vertical. Don't let it break out that vertical column of space. A, E, O, U. Never A, E, O, U. No. Stay vertical. If you're ever frustrated or in doubt, go back to a regular, genuine yawn. What's happening there? You're not going, You're not reaching for the high note there. The body naturally knows what to do when you're yawning. It searches for space. It searches for deepness. Sometimes when I sing, I even make this backwards approach. Because I know the high notes are behind me in that back wall over there. I need to search for depth as much as I need to just think high. I need to think depth. This false perception of your low notes are here and your high notes are up there, you shouldn't think of it this way. Your range is not vertical. Your range is in one plane. The low notes are here and the high notes are here. It's one plane in which we're stretching and thinning the vocal cords. And if we want to be more exact, it's not even just this, it is like this. Going deep into that yawn. Now with chord closure. If you follow that trajectory of this almost triangular, right, path in which we're going back and forward, back and forward. It's like we're taking a step back to then approach the high note from above, looking down at it, having more control. You're gonna make it so much easier for you, and I think it's gonna be a big epiphany for you guys as well. No. If you can apply the snarl as well as you are approaching this part of this trajectory, going back, and as you're going over, finding that snarl as though you're just on top of the note and you're about to bite it. That's a lot of both space and height. And it's this approach that goes back and over that's going to help, not just thinking high. Stop telling yourself hitting the high notes, reaching the high notes, high notes, high notes, high notes. Words play a big role in the mind, and if you keep telling yourself that you have to hit the high note, that's what the mind is gonna communicate to the body to tell them to hit the high note. And that's gonna start engaging that muscularly. No, we wanna relax. It's one big sigh. Singing higher and higher and higher is not a muscular process as it is a relaxing process. Yawn as a reference point. It'll help you. Your high notes are not there. They are deep.